Before this story begins, ask yourself one question. Are you loving or are you clinging? If you seek stories that transform the way you see love, fear, and destiny, subscribe now to this channel of Stoic stories. Activate the notification bell so you don't miss our daily real stories, because one of them may change the way you live your own life. Now listen carefully. Love. The search for absolute connection, for perfect happiness. When we find the person who illuminates our life, we instinctively want to bind them to us forever. And right there, where the greatest happiness is born, the greatest torment is born as well, the fear of loss. For the Stoics, this fear is not love. It is attachment. It is the fundamental confusion, the trap of believing that our eudaimonia, our fulfillment and flourishing, depends on an external object or another person, something that by nature is fleeting and merely loaned to us by fortune. Today we unravel the profound story of a young couple. Their love was not tested by betrayal or conflict, but by the brutality of distance and the challenge of philosophy. This is a story about how Stoicism, far from freezing emotions, purifies them, transforming a vulnerable, passionate love into an unbreakable bond grounded in shared virtue. This is the hardest Stoic lesson of all: how to love the lives of others without needing to possess their presence. They met amid the noise and promise of university life. In essence, they were opposites in how they reacted to the world. She was like calm water, fluid, adaptable to any vessel. He was like fire, passionate and intense, but prone to anxiety and doubt. For him, any external event felt like an immediate threat to his peace and, by extension, to the security of their relationship. An unanswered text message, a delayed bus, even a bad grade, everything was interpreted by his untrained mind as an impending disaster. This anxiety manifested in small but constant storms. One day, after a job interview he desperately wanted, he threw his phone down in frustration. His voice filled with resentment toward fate, he exclaimed, "No, I didn't get it. Everything was perfect. The resume, the preparation, the recommendation. Why don't they understand? Everything is wrong. Now I can't save for the trip we planned. I can't secure anything." She calmly asked him, with a tenderness that did not weaken the firmness of her logic. "Are you saying that your value as a person, your ability to love or be loved, depends on the cold, subjective decision of a human resources committee that barely knows you?" "No," he replied, "but it depended on that job. If we don't have money, there's no trip, no future. Everything is at risk." He was suffering from what the Stoics called pathos, an excessive, unnatural emotion caused by the mistaken belief that his happiness and his partner's happiness were tied to externals, things that fortune could take away at any moment. She reminded him of the foundational concept of the dichotomy of control. My love for you is my action. That is under my control. Your career future, your possessions, your status, those are externals, indifference. You can control your effort, your preparation, your perseverance, and your attitude, but not the decision of another company. When you worry about what you cannot control, you lose your peace and the energy needed to focus on what truly matters. Your character, your virtue. He felt it. The logic was impeccable and resonated with an ancient truth. But his heart feared that if he applied this dichotomy of control to love, love would become cold and distant. He confused Stoic calm, apatheia, with emotional indifference. His love, so beautiful and deep, was unfortunately tied to a rope of fear. For her, love was far more than an overflowing emotion. It was a daily practice of the 4 Stoic cardinal virtues: wisdom, justice, courage, and temperance. She firmly believed that lasting, true love can only endure when both people focus on individual moral excellence. Love for her was a shared gymnasium of virtue, This belief was tested when he became the victim of an academic betrayal by a classmate. His voice trembling with rage and helplessness, he exclaimed, "He betrayed me. He used me to get the grade. He lied without shame. How am I supposed to be just with someone like that? I want to expose him. I want him to pay." She responded calmly, gazing toward the horizon, reminding him of the great lesson. You want to punish him, but the virtue of justice is not revenge. It is treating each person according to their nature and worth. His actions are under his control, not yours. He has harmed himself by acting without virtue. Your action, your response is what you control. A Stoic does not use the poison of resentment. What you must use is the virtue of courage, speak the truth and set boundaries. But without the irrational fire of rage, do not allow another person's wrongdoing to destroy your inner peace. She taught him that true love does not try to change the other person, but to inspire them toward virtue and to protect them from their own irrationality. Their relationship became a constant Socratic dialogue. Before acting, they asked themselves, does this action make me better? Does this reaction help my partner's path toward eudaimonia, toward fulfillment? He slowly began to focus his energy, applying the virtue of temperance to avoid excess pleasures and distractions. He learned to use wisdom to distinguish virtuous, unconditional love, supportive of excellence from neurotic attachment, which demands presence and security. The Stoic does not fear suffering, because he knows that loss is the inevitable price of life, and that attachment is the voluntary price of suffering. The love he once knew was fragile, built on sand. The love he was learning to build was an unbreakable fortress constructed on virtue. But life, fortune, or fate, as the Stoics called it, always tests our philosophies. For him, who had achieved a certain peace, the final test arrived like a bolt of lightning. One morning, she woke up euphoric, reading an email that would change her life. I can't believe it. It's an offer for a research fellowship in the Netherlands. A full year. It's the dream of my life. The best lab in the world in my field. He slowly sat up. His face went pale, and the fear he thought he had mastered returned with full primal force. The Netherlands. A year, so far away. What about us? He asked. Have you really thought this through? A year is a long time. It's a risk. The word risk was a mask for his true fear, the loss of control. He had learned to manage his anxiety in small things, but the idea that geography, the great external, could break their connection was unbearable. He relapsed into fear. She sat beside him and took his hand with infinite tenderness. Her eyes filled with deep conviction. Love, you're confusing love with possession of my presence. Your fear isn't about me, it's about the absence of what gives you security. My virtue tells me I must follow this path toward my growth, my excellence. If I stayed out of fear of losing you, we would both lose something essential, my virtue. I would lose the opportunity to reach my highest potential. And if you tried to stop me out of fear, you would become a slave to an irrational passion. True love pushes us to become greater, not to stay small out of comfort and fear. She reminded him that a Stoic lover must place their partner's virtue above their own emotional comfort. Then she spoke the teaching that would become the pillar of their long-distance love. I choose to love you here. I choose to love you there. But above all, I choose to love the destiny placed before us. Amor fati. Love your fate. Love my fate. Accept this challenge not as an obstacle, but as an exercise to prove the strength of our virtue. This will make us unbreakable, or show us that we never were. She left, and his true battle began, not against distance, but against his own mind, against the demons of attachment. The first months were hell, doubt and psychological torment. Doubt was a slow, constant poison. Is she meeting someone else? Is she forgetting me in her new, exciting life? He nearly succumbed, but he remembered his task, to build his inner citadel, impregnable to fortune. He forced himself to practice premeditatio malorum, the premeditation of evils. Every morning, he sat and contemplated the worst that could happen. Visualizing loss, he wrote in his journal, confronting pain with reason. His conclusion burned itself into his mind. She could find a life partner in the Netherlands. She could decide her path no longer aligns with mine. If that happens, what have I lost? I never possessed her. The relationship was a temporary gift. I would have lost an external indifferent, but not my virtue. I would have gained the courage of having supported her. My peace does not depend on her presence, but on my own self-approval and virtuous conduct. The fear didn't vanish overnight, but it slowly dissolved, replaced by admiration and inner peace. The dichotomy of control was applied to every aspect of his life. He could only control his effort, his studies, his training, his work, and the sincere, selfless affection he sent her in every video call. One day during a call, she said, visibly stressed, "Dr. Fanders is still impossible. Brilliant, but his temperament is toxic. Some days he drains all my energy." He responded maturely, sincerely, with a calm smile, without jealousy toward her colleague. Remember Epictetus, it's not what happens to you, but how you react to it. His bad mood is his problem, not yours. Focus on your work. You're the most virtuous woman I know. Use your temperance. Don't react with the same fire. Don't let an external dim your excellence. His love had changed completely. It was no longer a possessive demand seeking security. It was unconditional support for her virtue regardless of distance. He had become her greatest ally on her path to fulfillment. The year passed not as slow torture, but as a period of accelerated growth and purification of attachment. Fate's test had succeeded, not only because the relationship survived, but because the individuals thrived despite absence. When they reunited, there were no hysterical tears or drama, only a mature, deep joy. He embraced her and looked into her eyes with renewed admiration. "You're better. I see your courage and wisdom multiplied. I'm incredibly happy for you," she replied, feeling the peace he radiated. "And you, my love, I no longer feel the invisible chains of your anxiety. I feel your peace. I felt your unwavering support every day because your love stopped being a need and became a choice." She reflected on her experience. The relationship itself, being physically together, is a preferred indifferent. It's wonderful. We desire it and enjoy it. But if it's lost, it does not destroy our happiness. Our happiness is the virtuous use of that presence, he concluded, showing the lesson had reached the deepest part of his being. "I understand. If we had separated, the true tragedy wouldn't have been losing us, but losing the chance to be virtuous in our response. We chose virtue in adversity, and that's why love became unbreakable." Their reunion wasn't a repair of what was lost, but a celebration of what was never lost, their mutual commitment to moral excellence. This story leaves us with a crushing but liberating truth. Stoic love is not the absence of passion, but the absence of fear. As the emperor and philosopher Marcus Aurelius said, "Loss is nothing but change, and change is nature's delight." To love, from the Stoics' perspective, is not to secure permanence. It is to desire virtue in the other more than their permanence by your side. It is a conscious decision to help the other on their path toward eudaimonia, without tying your own peace to their physical existence. If you love with virtue and acceptance, if you accept the destiny of the relationship, amor fati, there is no loss, only change. And change is life itself. And you, what part of your love are you trying to control? What fear prevents you from loving fully? If this reflection on unbreakable love resonated with you, subscribe for more Stoic stories. Turn on the notification bell so you don't miss our daily real stories. Leave a like and tell us in the comments what aspect of your love life you struggle most to surrender to fate. Amor fati. See you in the next Stoic story.